So let's go and create an experiment. So today's topic is using jQuery to render dynamic pages that are represented by some data model. Okay, some data model that we're maintaining on JavaScript, right? In the JSON format. Okay, right now the JSON format, the data that we're going to have is hard coded on the client, right? But eventually this data is going to come from some server, from some database. Yes. Right, so let's go on. It's let's create here jQuery. So it says let's see, should we put it here in jQuery? No, let's add here new folder, and we're saying jQuery and JSON, jQuery and data model. Okay, so in here, let's create a page. We'll call it 000.html. And so we want to include here Bootstrap. So let's create here. Let's download any Bootstrap that we might need. Again, I'm making this as a standalone as possible. So under CSS, I'm going to put Bootstrap, and under JS, I'm going to put jQuery. Okay. So let's see, I believe I have it somewhere here in downloads. In downloads, I might have Bootstrap. There it is, Bootstrap. That's the latest. I'm just going to copy the CSS. That's all I'm going to need. Well, actually, let me copy the whole thing just in case. And can I just paste it here? No, I can't paste it. Okay. I need to go and go to C, Essentials, Experiments, Data Model, CSS. I'm just going to drop it in here. There it is. Okay. And then I'm going to put in JavaScript. I'm going to put jQuery. I believe I downloaded jQuery the other day. Let's see, jQuery. Maybe it's this one. Oh, is it this one? External jQuery. There it is, jQuery. And I'm going to put it in JS here. Anything else I need? Do we need jQuery UI? Maybe. I'll just copy that, and I'll put the CSS under CSS. There we go. And then I'm just going to include everything in here, right? So this is my boilerplate, my template, my first page is going to do it's just going to include everything, right? So let's see. For the CSS, I'm going to include, let's see, we're going to need Bootstrap. So I think I have Bootstrap in here somewhere. Oh, it's not finding it because I haven't refreshed my documents here, right? So I'm going to refresh. There it is. Okay. We found it now. Okay. So let's see, CSS, and let's load Bootstrap. There it is, Bootstrap. And this is style sheet. All right. Anything else? I might need also to load the CSS that I what? Wait a minute. CSS. I'm going to load the jQuery UI CSS. Right? Anything else do I need? I think that's it, right? Let's load the JavaScript now, okay? Let's load the JavaScript. So script source. We're going to load first the jQuery, okay? And then we're going to load the jQuery UI. It's, let's see, jQuery. There it is, jQuery UI. I think we have everything we need, okay? Just going to test it. We're going to have a div class container. Actually, let's go to Bootstrap and copy one of those boilerplate examples, right? Let's go to Bootstrap. Get Bootstrap. Right? Can you see that? If you get started, and down below, there's a whole bunch of really nice templates to get us started. Let's see. Let's go with maybe this one. Okay. Let's look at the source. Let's copy this. The only thing we're going to need here is, let's see, we only need the body. So we're going to copy everything that's in the body. And we're going to paste it in our body here. Although we're not going to need, oh, we have two. Did we copy the body too? Did we? Okay, there it is. Nav bar, blah, blah, blah. We have the container, and we don't need any of this. We don't need the JavaScript. We're not going to use that. Okay, there we go. And we don't need this either. There we go. Let's save that, and let's run it. Let's see what we have so far. All right. I guess we're missing some styling here. The container. Oh, you know what? We probably did not copy some of the styling up here at the top. Probably have some styling of the body having some margin at the top. Let's fix that. I'm sorry? Yeah, so let's fix that. So the body, we're going to push it down a little bit. We're going to push it down, maybe give it some margin top, or some padding top. Some 50 pixels. There we go. So that's going to bring down the body a little bit. All right. So let's copy that. We like that, and we're going to paste it here in our template. So it's going to be style, body, and some margin at the top. Let's see. There we go. I think we're all set, and we got. Well, that's not working because we don't have the JavaScript for it. All right. We have a boilerplate. Okay. Or starter templates. All right. Okay. So let's see how we could render dynamic content. Yes. Right. So let's say I have a favorite set of movies. Right. And all right. So that's the boilerplate. We're going to stop that, and we're going to copy the boilerplate. We're going to leave that. We're not going to touch the boilerplate. Just copy that and keep going here. Right. And we're going to edit that 001. We're going to keep our work here. Let's create a table here. We don't want the start templates. We don't want that. We do want H1. And H1 might be my favorite movies. So my favorite movies. Right? And I might use a table to display that, right? Maybe this is my profile, and I have been bookmarking my favorite movies, right? And I might display it as a table. So let's create a table here. Table. Tables have a head, and it might have also a body, table body, right? And in that head, I might have things such as a table row with some table headers, right? Table headers. Oops. One of the headers might be the ID of the movie, the ID, maybe the name of the movie, maybe a rating, maybe the year that came out, right? What else? Maybe a short description, right? Maybe a short plot. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Right? And we might hard code this with some content here. Let's hard code it to see what it might look like. So a table row, it might have several columns, right? For the ID, let's just have some bogus ID, and let's have here movie 1. This is the TD, the year. It'll be 1984. We have maybe the rating. In Rotten Tomatoes, maybe it's 80%. The plot. So here's a short plot, right? And for the short plot, maybe we'll grab something from Lorem Ipsum just to see what it would look like. So let's grab a paragraph in there, right? Let's render it. Let's see what it looks like so far. Let's go to 001. Oops. Ooh, not 100. 0, 1. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It looks awful, right? It looks awful, but we can fix that real quick using Bootstrap, right? We can just say class equals table, right? And very quickly, Bootstrap makes it look so much nicer, right? Everybody okay? Yes. And this is a template to see what it looks like. This is something that we might get from a designer, right? And so the designer is looking at this and says, okay, yes, I'm happy with the way this is laying out. I'm going to go forward with this layout. It's now the responsibility of the developer to make this real. Yes, right? They might give it a whole bunch of classes. Maybe they might add here, tables striped, right? So that you have, alternating colors in the rows. Perhaps we might have, how might we add things to this or remove things, or maybe we want to be able to edit things, right? Maybe we want here the ability to remove elements from my list, right? So perhaps they might have an additional column, an empty one at the top, right, as a header. But then each TD here, we might have a button here. We might have a button that says remove it, right? That remove this favorite movie. Yes. For that, we can go to Bootstrap real quick and grab a button, a nice button. We can go to components and we look at there's some glyphs here that we can use to remove. There it is. That's an X. That's perfect, right? Let's grab that. Let's grab that X. We can go here. We can add it to a span class and use that class. That adds a nice X in a button, right? So let's see what that renders like in my application. All right, so it looks like it's not working. Let's add here some classes. Maybe we're missing some classes. Button danger painted as red. Still not rendering. We might be missing some theme. Yes. Oh, we didn't copy the fonts folder. Thank you. Where were we here? I think it's this one, right? Where do we copy from? From here, right? Let's go back here in the downloads. Oops. In the downloads, Bootstrap. Oh, there it is, the fonts. So let's copy that and let's paste it in our local. We're going to paste it here. There it is. And let's see. Oh, we need to update our server. Let's say update. Now it sees the fonts. And let's try it again. Let's refresh. There's our X. Thank you. Okay. So let's copy that over and over, right? And so that our template looks okay. So let's see. Let's go back to our templates. Let's remove the old ones. Let's remove the old ones. Right. And I'm just going to copy. I'm just going to copy that one row. I'm just going to copy it several times. I'm going to copy, paste it several times. Oops. Wait. What happened? Oh, man. Is that it? Okay. Let me copy that. Copy. Paste it. Wait, am I pasting the TR? Yeah, right? I am pasting the TR. Am I doing this right? Am I pasting this right? Wait, let me see. Table body, TR, closes with, oh, I didn't copy the closing TR. Copy. Paste. Oh, this one has it. Copy. Paste, paste, paste. Refresh. Okay, that works. Okay, so that's my template. Yes, and it's hard-coded. That's something like what you might have in your homework, right? Where the rows are all hard-coded, right? But we want this to be generated dynamically from some data model in the JavaScript, a data model that hopefully, eventually, it'll come from a server from a database, right? But for now, we'll just hard code it in JavaScript as a JSON array of objects. Everybody okay? All right, let's do that. Let's see how we do that. I'll stop here, and I'm going to create a new file where I'm going to keep working. Right, I'm going to do this 002. Right, I'm going to edit 002. There it is. So we have 002. What we want to do, right, is have a data model. So let's see. We're going to have a script. I'm going to put it here, although a better place for this would be a separate JavaScript file, yes? But because it would be a shared JavaScript file, you wouldn't see the progression of all the, of all the changes between one file and the next, yes? So instead, I'm gonna keep it inside of the HTML. Although we all know it's a bad practice. Ideally, this would be a separate JavaScript file. Yes, right. So when you do it, right, have a separate file. Okay. But me, because I am showing you many versions of the same thing over and over, it's easier to just keep it in here, self-contained in here. All right. So let's see. We want a data model. So we're gonna say here we want maybe like an array of movies. Right, and objects that might have, maybe a title, right? Might have maybe an ID, right? Might have an ID, 1, 2, 3. Maybe has a title, right? Movie 1 maybe has a. What do we have? What data do we have? What do we need? We need ID, name, year, rating, and plot, right? ID, name. What was it? Rating, right? So maybe as a number, 80. Year, 1984, and plot, right? Plot. And we might have different versions of this, right? We might have several of these. Okay, except the last one doesn't have a comma, right? So just to know that these are all different, we're going to add some space here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are all different years, so we're going to say this is 85, 86, 87, 89, 88, okay. And the year, the IDs might be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and these are all different movies, so you might have maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? And the ratings might be, right? Every year gets a little better. Okay, there we go. So we have data here. So the data, again, this data typically would come from the server from some database, yes? But we want to be able to say, well, when I do get data from the database, how am I going to render it? All right, so let's use jQuery. So the function, and here, oops, we want to make sure that when the document loads, we want to make sure that we have that document, right? The DOM has loaded and it's ready to go, right? So let's see. I'm going to say console log hello, right? And say hello from jQuery. So just to make sure that jQuery has loaded. Let's see. Something went wrong. Console. Data model. What? Glyphs. Glyphs? Huh. Wait, am I looking at the right version? Oh, it's 2. I'm sorry. 2. There it is. Hello from jQuery. And I must have not copied something from the glyphs. I have the fonts. I must be missing something. Anyway, don't worry about that. So yeah, so there it is. Hello from jQuery, right? So we have jQuery. jQuery is up and running. Okay. We can actually see the data, right? The data is here. The movies, right? That's the data, right? We can say console log the data. There it is. And there it is, right? So it's an array of objects. So I have access to that data from jQuery. We just need to update the UI with all this data, right? We want to dynamically update it. All right, so we want to throw away the old content and replace it with our content. Yes, right? So to be able to do that, we need to grab the old content, right? The hard-coded content. Where is the hard-coded content? Let's see. The hard-coded content is where? It's, let's see, it's in the body. It's this TR, right? All these TRs have all the data. We want to throw away all the content of the body and then add our own TR. Make sense? Right, that's basically what we want to do. So let's see how can we do that. So this is where I want to render my movies, right? This is the container of all my movies. Yes, right. So let's grab that. Let's see if we could grab it from jQuery. We could do that, right? We can say grab the movies, right? And we can empty it. We can throw away the content, right? Let's see. Yeah, we can throw it away, right? We did grab it and threw it away, and we're ready to start filling it in, right? But one way to go about this is to create our own TR, right? Create our own TDs dynamically, right? In jQuery, but that would be very tedious, right? Instead, what we could do is what we could grab the old TR, right? The TR that was already there. And use that as a template, right? We could use it as a template and then clone that template over and over and then paste it back in there and add it back in there, right? We could do that. We could do that, right? So let's give it a class here that this is my template, right? I want to grab that template and then use it to populate the data as I go, okay? And in that template, I'm going to give names to everything that I want to populate, right? For instance, this number, I want to feed it with my ID. Yes, so I'm gonna name it what I want to populate. Right here, I want to populate it with the name or the title. What did I call it? Name or title? I forget. Was it name? Title. Okay. So this one I want to populate it with the year. Yeah. And I want to populate this with the with what? With the rating, right? And I want to populate this with the plot. There we go, right? So let's do that. Let's grab let's grab first the template. Let's grab the template. So I'm going to store the template. I'm going to grab it. Was it a class? It was a class, right? So dot templates. So I grab the template. Now that I have the template, I'm going to clone it. Right. Well, actually, no, I don't need to clone it. There's a template, and then I'm going to empty it. And then I'm going to empty it. Okay. Everybody okay? Everybody still okay? All right. But notice that I have to grab the template before I empty it, right? Because if I empty it, and then if I empty it, the template will be gone by the time I empty it, right? So it makes sense to first grab the template and then clear it out. Make sense? All right. Okay. I have the template. If I run it again, notice that there's nothing there. But I have the template. I can print it out, right? Console.log. Let's see if the template's still there. There it is, a template. It's that. It's a row. See that? It's a TD. It's a TR that has a class template. So yes, we were able to grab it, right? Right. And the idea would be that once I empty it, once I empty it, I want to be able to iterate over instead of grabbing it like this, I'm gonna actually create a variable for that. All right, I'm gonna call it the parent. So this is container. This is a container of all my rows. Yes, this is a container of all my rows. All right, I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna grab movies, and then I'm gonna empty the container. Container empty. All right, so I'm gonna grab the movies, which is a container of all my templates. Yes, I'm gonna paste inside of my container. And then I'm going to empty my container so it doesn't have any movies in there, right? So it still works. So I'm going to iterate, right? I'm going to iterate over the movies that I already have, right? So var m 0 all the way to m less than the movies dot length, right? And then m plus plus. Yes? Everybody okay? Right? And then I can grab each object. I can grab, so this iterates what? This iterates over what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So m is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes? Everybody okay? Everybody still with me? Did I lose anyone? Right? So I can grab each movie. I can say movie, right? Movie sub m, right? Yes, now I have each object. I can grab the values in there. Well, I don't have to, right? What do I want to do, right? For each movie, what do I want to do? I want to clone the template, right? And then append it back to the parent, to the container. Remember, the container is empty, right? I emptied it, but I'm going to put it back in there, right? So let's do that. Let's var. Here's a cloned item, right? So here's a cloned template. I'm going to clone the template. Template clone. I'm going to clone it. So it's going to create a DOM representation, which is a clone of the original DOM, right? It's a clone of the original DOM for that table row. And then I'm going to stick it back into the container. I'm going to say container, right? Append the cloned element. Yes, right? If I run this, there they are. That's my data again there, right? That's the templates cloned how many times? 6 times, right? Once per each movie clone. There it is. Wait, what? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yes, there's 6, right? But notice that the data is the old data, right? It's the data from the template. I never replaced the content in the template, right? I never replaced it. I need to replace it before putting it back into the container. Yes? Let's do that, right? So I have the cloned item. I need to go into each element, right? What do I have? I have this, right? This is what I have, right? I have that. I have that, right? I have that. I need to replace the ID with my ID. I had to replace the title with my title, right? So let's do that. I'm going to say cloned find, right? Find me the element whose class is title, right? What's that going to be returned? It's the TD, right? That has a title class, correct? And I want to replace its HTML content with the title in the movie object, correct? Right? Is it title? Yeah, title. Right? So I'm going to replace the title in that element with my movie object dot title attribute. See that? Right? Let's see if that works. Notice that all these are movie 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. See that, right? I'm going to refresh. There they are. Now it's movie 1, movie 2, movie 3, movie 4, movie 5, right? That's the titles in the objects, right? In the array, correct? Right? Let's do everything else. Let's see. Let's do the same thing for the ID. ID. What else? What else do I have? What? Year? Year. Year. What else we have? Rating. Rating and plot, right? Plot. Okay, if I refresh, there's my data, right? Plot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That makes sense, right? Makes sense. Okay. All right. So yeah. So we can generate the content dynamically, right? Hopefully, again, this data would come from a server, from a database, right? But for now, we know, given an array of movies, we know how to render it, right? Actually, this should be a function, shouldn't it? This should be, instead of this, just running just when it loads, right? Ideally, this would be a reusable function, right? This would be nice that this would be a reusable function that I give it an array of objects, right? And it just clears out the original content, and repopulates this, right? Make sense? Right? So let's put this, let's make this a function, right? So let's see. So it's basically it would be this, right? We're going to make this into a function, a reusable function. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to say function render movies, right? And presumably it's take as an argument the movies, right? So the movies now is a parameter as opposed to the global variable, right? We pass it the movies and it renders it, right? So the way we use this is that we call this function. Notice that if I run it now, right, it's just hard-coded, right? It's a hard-coded content. jQuery is not doing anything, right? Not until we actually call the function. Let's call the function. Call the function. Oh, wait, what did we do with the template? We didn't copy the templates. Actually, that's a good thing. There it is, right? And let's put the template in here for now. I'll show you why it should not be in there. There it is. Template is not defined. Where? Wait a minute. What? Function template. Oh, yeah. We don't need this. That's all. Right. Refresh. So it works. All right. Given an array of objects, it renders that on demand. Everybody okay? Is everybody good? The problem with template is that it's dynamic, right? It's dynamic. It could be that we get the template, we throw away the content, then we don't have the template anymore, right? So maybe that might be an argument for keeping this as a global variable. Well, not global, right? It would be somewhere here, right, outside of any function, so the functions could see it. But let's leave it there for now. Now, is everybody okay with rendering movies? Yes? All right. How about deleting movies? How about deleting movies? Right now, these buttons don't do anything, right? These buttons don't do anything. So let's delete that. And the way we want to do it is that we want to update the model, right? And then once the model is updated, typically you would go to the server, right? You say, oh, they've deleted this. You update the data model in the back end and the database, and then you re-render the UI to be synchronized with the back end. Yes. But again, we don't have a server, we don't have a database. But we'll get to that in a week or so. All right. So what we want to do here is this button, right? The button. This button over here, we wanted to notify us. Yes.
So if the template was inside the function,
yes.
When we went to re-render it, would that class pull back all of the objects?
That's the problem, right? Right. It's going to grab all of them. Right. It's going to grab all of them. Right. So that's why it should not live in there. That we should put it outside. We should put it outside. And I wanted to run into that issue. We'll run into that issue on demand. So we want that button, right? We want that button to notify us that we want to delete it, right? And that button, where's that button? Let's see, where is that button? It's this button over here, right? So we should be able to give it a name. Let's give it a name. Let's give it a class. Let's call it remove. Okay. And what we want to do is have an event handler that whenever that button is clicked, we want it to notify us. Okay? So let's do that. So it's called remove. And let's go up here. And we're going to create here. We're going to say a jQuery here. We're going to say grab that button. Grab the button and give it a click event handler and notify the method called remove movie. Okay, so there's a function. Here's a function. Function remove movie. Okay, right? And we're going to do a console log just to make sure that it's being clicked. See if it works. There it is. Remove movie is being clicked, right? Notice that it says 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see that? Right? what we're going to do here is that, well, we need to be able to know, well, which movie are you removing, right? So that we can go and remove it, right? So one way that we could do this is by index. That's one way. You can say that, we know that this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We could do that. Another way that we could do it is by ID, right? Somehow we would be able to determine the ID of the movie that we want to remove, right? And then remove that object from the array. But notice that right now that button has absolutely no idea, right, on which one are you clicking. It's not giving us any information about which one is being clicked. Okay. There's several ways that we can go about it. We can associate the ID as we are rendering this. Right? We can associate the ID with the button, right? And then when we click it, we can get that button and ask it, hey, button, what is your ID? Yes? And once we know the ID, we can then determine which one is the one that we're removing. Make sense? Okay. Or we can also, instead of associating the ID, we can associate the index, right? The index, right? And that index will be the same index into the array, right? Let's do that. That sounds easier, right? As we are rendering, yes, we can grab that button, can't we? Let's grab that button, right? Here's a cloned find. The button is called what? Dot remove, isn't it? Yes. And so now I have the button, right? I have the button. What am I going to do? I am going to set its attribute ID. Notice if we look at the button right now, if we look at the button, there's the button. Notice that the button has absolutely no, there is no ID. You see that? There's a class, there's a remove, but it has no ID. You see that? There is no ID. But I am going to set its ID to be the index M. Right? M. Okay, let's re-render that. Notice now that the buttons have ID equals 0. Right? The next one here, right? The next button down here has ID equal 1. You see that? Right? Now the button has the ID. Right? Now what I need to do is, as I click these, it's notifying me, right? It's notifying me that it's being clicked. Right? It's being clicked, right? Remove, blah, blah, blah. I need the ID. So what I need to do is, with the remove me, remember that whenever we generate an event handler, it calls us back with an event object, right? And let's print that event. Let's print that event object that it passes us whenever we click on something that has click event. Let's click on it. Let's see. There's the event object. If we open it up, what do we have here? Let's see. We have Alt key, the X and Y position. We have, what else do we have here? Original event. We have the target. What is that? The target. Oh, it's a span. I wanted the button. I'm sorry? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Current target. That's what I wanted. The current target, right? That tells me the actual button. And notice it says button with ID 0. See that? Button with ID 0, right? If I click it again, if I click that one, let's open that one up. There it is. It says current target with button with ID 5. Look at that, right? Okay, so I can get the original button, right? So here's the button. Var the button is equal to event.current target. Okay, and I can print the button. Oops. Oh man. You can say console log button. Right, if I click on it, that's the button, right? That has ID 1, button with ID 5, right? What I could do is I can convert it back into a jQuery object. Notice that it's a raw DOM object. See that? It's raw. Okay, notice that if I hover over it, it tells me what, right? Which button does it represent in the UI? See that? It's a raw button. I'm going to convert it back into a jQuery button. right? So that I can call all sorts of things on it. I can, for instance, one of the things that I can ask it is the ID. What is the ID? Where is the ID? In the attribute, right? In the attribute. So I can say, button, give me your attribute called ID, right? So I can say ID. Now I click and it says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See that? See that? Now I know the index. Now this is the index into the array. So I can splice that array now, right? I can remove that object from the array, right? I can remove that object from the array. Let's do that. Let's display the array before and after, right? Being spliced, right? So for instance, I'm going to console log, right? The array, which is called movies. Is it called movies? Right? Movies. And I'm going to print it after being spliced. Okay. So we're going to splice it. The way you splice in JavaScript, you can remove an element from an array using the splice method. You can say movie array splice, right? And then you say which index do you want to splice, which element do you want to splice, right? So we can say I want to start ID. That is my index, right? I want to splice that, and then you can say how many elements do you want to splice, starting at that position. I only want to splice one. That one object I want to splice out. Okay, all right. So let's do that. Let's see what it looks like now. So let's clear this. So I'm going to say 3. Okay, notice that the object notice that the array used to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 objects, but now it only has 5. You see that? Right? So what's left here is what? Is updating my UI, right? I need to re-update my UI. How do I do that? I have a function for that, don't I? I have a function that, given an array of movies, it just goes and re-renders it, right? So that's all we need to do. We need to call render movies with movies. Okay? But it's going to behave weird now. Check this out. Right? So let's cool that. Hit that. Wait a minute. Instead of deleting, it added. What's up with that? What happened? It's what one of your colleagues was suggesting. Says that we are the templates, right? It used to be that the template we were grabbing. There was only one template, right? It was only one row that had the class template. Yes? Correct? But then what do? We removed the whole thing, and then we added that we cloned it, yes, over and over and over. And by adding it there, we added how many rows? 6, right? Right? But cloned from that first one that had class template, yes? Right? So now when we run that function again and we ask for a template, now there's not only just one template, right? There's not just one element that has a template. There's 6 of them that have the class template. You see that? All right, so we have to be very careful with the template. What we're going to do is that we're going to grab the template only once, right? The very first time, and then never again. All right, so let's do that. Let's do that. Let's this template over here, what we're going to do is going to remove it from here. We're going to do it only once, right here. And it's not going to be a local variable. I'm going to declare it out here so that everybody can see it, right? And so that my function out there can see it, right? So it's going to grab the template only once, yes, at the beginning, and never again. And the function, it's just going to reuse that one template. Okay, so this template clone, it's that one template, right, that I'm grabbing it only at the beginning. Are we okay? All right. So save. Let's try that again. Let's clear this. So now let's see. Let's remove that. So what happened here? It worked once, but never again. What happened? Try it again. Notice I'm removing 3. Right? I'm clicking it. So it removed 3 successfully. Right? It removed 3 successfully, and then it re-rendered the whole thing. Right? Correct. But then I'm going to remove 6. And it's no longer working. Why not? Well, it's because this event handler, right? We created the event handler after rendering the movies, right? We rendered the whole movies, right? All the movies and all the buttons were rendered, right? And then we said, okay, associate with all those buttons an event handler, correct? Right? But then what happened? We removed the movie, and then we call render movies, right? And what did render movies do? It threw away all the TRs, right? Including all the buttons, right? The buttons that had event handlers, right? My new buttons that I just added don't have an event handler associated with it. You see that? Okay. There's a couple ways that we can fix this. One way to fix it is that this event handler, right? We could move it here, right? We can move it in the render movies method, right? Meaning after rendering everything, right? Go ahead and associate the event handler, right? So render everything, including all the buttons, all the rows, blah, 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 right? We can do that. Let's see if that works. That removes. So it works, right? Now it works, right? A better solution is to use the on-click event handler, okay? For that, let's look at the, is it worth it going into it? Let's go jQuery. If you go to jQuery.com, and where would it be? I can't see. Foundation, API documentation, and I'm searching for click. No, I'm sorry. I'm searching for on. There it is, on. Okay, on is a much more powerful solution. Right, this is a much more powerful solution. The problem with this click here, right? The problem with this click, right, is that if you have 6 movies, it generates 6 event handlers, right? If you have 100 movies, it generates 100 event handlers. Okay. Instead, on can be much more powerful, right? What it could do is that it can create one single event handler that would handle all 6 buttons, right? Or it can handle 100 buttons, but one event handler, right? The way it works is that, where is it? Delegates. On. Oh, there it is. So on. You say where do you want to start looking for, instead of having the button notify you, coming up and say, oh, somebody clicked me, and then that event bubbles up, right? On works backwards, right? When the button is clicked, it starts looking at the top level of the DOM, right? And it starts navigating deeper and deeper into the DOM, asking, were you clicked? No? Okay, let me go deeper. Were you clicked? No. Were you clicked? No. Were you clicked? Yes, I was clicked. Ah, I found the button that was clicked, right? So instead of having each button notify up to the browser that they were clicked, it can be more efficient if you start from a level, right, above, and then you just want one event handler can then go down and find the button that was clicked, right? Using this technique also handles the fact that you can remove all the buttons and you can add new buttons, right? And there'll always be that one event handler that can handle any number of buttons, right? Without having to recreate the event handlers, right? Over here, using .click, even though it works, it's much less efficient because you're throwing away event handlers, you're recreating event handlers, you're throwing away the event handlers, you're recreating event handlers, as opposed to just creating one event handler that never goes away, right? And can handle any number of buttons that are added. Okay, so the way on works is saying, start looking, instead of by default you can start looking at the body, right, and then going down, but that's pretty inefficient, right? Where are all my buttons? Where are all that? They're in the T body of my table, right? So that table body is a good place to start looking for the buttons that was clicked. Yes. Instead of going way up there from the body and going down, it's more efficient to start at the table body and then search for the button that was clicked, right? So that's what this is. You know, where do you want to start looking, right? Where you want to start looking. Then you say, okay, what are you listening for? What event are you looking for? What event are you looking for? And then where do you want to stop looking? You know, what do you want to stop looking, which is our button, right? Okay. All right. So let's copy this. So what we're going to do here, instead of having this like that, what we're going to create here is that way up here, we're going to say grab the TB, the table body. Let's give it a name, the class, the table body. Oh, it's a container, isn't it? Isn't the table body the container? Yeah, it's this one, right? Movies. So let's grab that. We're going to say grab the container, which is the movies, right? Movies. Start there, right? Then start looking for. Oh, well, I'm missing. I'm listening for a click event on the remove button, right? And then if you do find an event of click event there, notify remove movie. Okay. Okay. And we remove the click, right? We remove this, so this one's no longer there. Let's see if this still works. Oh, if we blew it away. Let's click. Yeah, it still works. It works exactly the same way, right? But much more efficient. We're not throwing away event handlers, recreating event handlers, right? And it works for any new rows are being added, right? Without having to recreate these event handlers. Make sense? Everybody okay? So there. How about creating new ones? Let's create new movies. For that, let's create a very simple form, right? A very simple form. For that, let's see. The form could live where? Where would the form live? Okay, how about we add it as part of the table? Okay, that'd be nice. So let's grab it here. We're going to say we'll have an input field here for the input field for the ID. So an input field for the name, right? Oops. Actually, I'm gonna paint it with a form control with a bootstrap, right? So it looks pretty. For the name, for the year, for the rating, for the plot. Okay, so let's render that. There it is. So these are my input fields where I could add some of this information. Yes. And I'm going to add here a button so that you can click and add. Yes. So let's put a button here. Let's put a button, maybe button, and I'm going to paint it as a button and button success, which is green, right? And I'm going to put a glyphicon in there with a plus sign. Where's the plus sign here? There it is, right? So I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to use a span here, span class, and the glyphicon. There it is. So let's refresh that. Okay. So this is my form. Actually, let me start in a new experiment. So let me copy that and paste it and create that as 3. Thank you. Save. All right, so let me load 3 here. Let me load 3. Okay, so there it is. So I have 3. I want to be able to create, yes? So these fields, I need to be able to grab those fields. I need to be able to grab the fields. So these fields need to have a name, right? They need to have a name. So I'll call them, maybe this is, class. Let's see, what do we want to call it? I'll keep it the same, right? ID. Oh wait, no, sorry, it already has a class. Sorry. So this is ID. This is title. This is, what was this? The ID, name, year. Right. So this is year. Rating. But for rating, maybe for rating, we should use a select, right? So let's use a select instead. Let's use a select. Select. The class is going to be rating. And select, right? And this is going to have maybe several options, right? So the options. So this is PG. So this might be PG, PG-13. Was it R or whatever? Okay. What else? We have this one is what? What's this one? Plot. Okay, plot. Yeah, there we go. Class plot. Okay. All right, and then the button. So what we want to be able to do here is this button. This is add movie. Okay. So what we want to do here is have an event handler. Notice that button is only one button, right? So it's not worth using the on technique, right? Because it's not a dynamic button. It's not like a button that it goes and comes back, right? So for this one, it's safe to just use the normal click event handler, okay? So I'm going to say, I'm going to grab that, and it's called hash, what is it? Add movie? Oh, but it's not an ID, right? It's a class, right? Actually, it's better that it's an ID. So where is that button? There's this button, right? So I'm going to say ID equal add movie, right? Okay. This class goes to 4:30, right? So I have another half hour. Okay, good. So here's add movie. I'm going to say .click, and if you click on that, you're going to call the method add movie. How's that? Okay, so there's a function. I'm going to create a function here and say function, function add movie, right? That's going to be called whenever we call movie, right? Add movie. Let's see if that works. So there it is. So add movie, that button works, right? What do we need to do? We need to grab the data in those fields. Yes, we need to grab all these. So let's grab all those things. Let's grab the ID from the input ID, right? So we're going to grab it from an input whose class is ID, and we're going to grab the value, right? We're going to grab also the title from an input whose ID is title. Then from rating, we're going to grab from an ID whose class is rating. What else? Year from an ID input whose ID is that. Actually, rating is from a select, right? From a select. And then what else? Plot, right? Plot and plot. There it is, right? Yes. So let's now we need to create an object out of that, right? We need to create an object. So here's my brand new movie. I'm going to create an object. I have a template of that, so let me just copy that template. Right, here's a where is it? Uh-oh, what happened? Why is it not formatting it? I was hoping that it would format it. Why are you not formatting? Anyway, so rating, year, and plot, right? And I'm going to populate. So these are the attributes, right? I'm going to populate them with the value that I got from the input fields. Yes. All right. So I'm going to put ID here. I'm going to put the title I just grabbed, right? The rating that I just grabbed from the input field, the year, and the plot. So now I have the object. Let's print it out. Let's see if it works. Console log. Let's print the movie I just created. Copy, paste it here. Let's refresh. Let's see if it works. So let's click on click. There it is. We have an object. There's the object. You see the object? right? So the object is there. What do we need to do? We have the object, we have the array. We just have to put this new object into the array, right? That's all we need to do. Let's do that. And how do we do that? We just say, oh wait, did the rating work too? Yeah, the rating works too, right? PG, it's grabbing it from whatever I select, PG-13, right? So I click. Yep, so there it is, so it's working. I'm gonna push it into the movies array. So movies, I'm gonna push this brand new movie I just created. And now that I have the movies array, I have a function that knows how to render all the arrays, right? An array of movies. So I'm just gonna say, what is it? Render movies, is it? And that takes an argument, the array of movies, right? So if I have here 3, 2, 1, I add, notice that it adds it at the bottom. See that? Right? And if I have 4, right? And then movie 432, year 432, and plot 432, add renders, right? And I can still remove and add. That makes sense, right? So your assignment is, you can reuse a lot of the techniques that I showed you here today, so that you can have a starting point for your assignment. Right? I'm going to make this available in GitHub so that you can download it and use it. Okay? All right. Let's move on. Let's see. Did I cover my API? Did we look at this last time we met? Movie API? We didn't? No, I forget. All right, let's talk about this then. So yeah, so for your project, right? My hope is that you would connect to a web API that is out there, right? That you can retrieve data from the cloud from lots of databases that are available for free. Yelp has one. Uber has another one. Google has tons of them. Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart. All these websites make their databases, right, available online for free, and you can query them, right? You can search stuff in their APIs, and it comes back with data, with JSON, with arrays that look very much like the arrays we looked at today. Okay, all right. So my hope is that for your project, you would use one of these APIs, right? So I wanted to show you how you would go about doing this, right? So let's. So here's an API that is a front end to IMDb. Is everybody familiar with IMDb? IMDb is the Internet Movie Database, right? The Internet Movie Database, where it's a community that it allows you to rate movies, review movies, and they keep track of all the various actors and plots and versions and all sorts of every movie and TV series in that database, right? So it provides it provides as a service, provides this data for free, right? And this one, my API Films, allows you to query it, right? That JSON array, which was hard-coded in our example, well, this one gives us an array, a real array, right, with real data, with real movies. Okay, and I'd like to show you how we can use it. Down below, down here, where is it? It gives you examples on how you could query this database. All right, so for instance, we can say an example. Here's an example. What are you doing? Example that. Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah. So yesterday I was searching for Avatar, right? I searched for Avatar. This is the URL that you would use to query this database for a movie called Avatar, right? And you can tell it how many movies you want, how many matches do you want, right? You can say just one, the first one in the database, I want 10 matches. And here's what it would send you. It would send you an array, right? So let's copy this. So let's search for something else. Let's search for Star Trek, right? And you can ask it in different formats. You can ask it in JSON, JSON-P, and XML format, right? If you're using it from the client, from a browser, typically you would use one of these two, JSON or JSON-P. If you're doing this from a server, right, from IIS or from C# or from PHP or Java or something like that, you would typically use XML as a format. Okay, we're going to do it from a client, from a browser, from JavaScript. So we're going to use this format over here. Let me do JSON. I'm going to say search for Star Trek. I'm going to say search, right? So it's going, right? And then it comes back with the results. Okay. So look at that. Isn't that a JSON array, right? That has director, has genre, it has titles, it has writers, votes, it has plots. Look at that. It has a plot, right? This object obviously is much more detailed than our objects, yes? But nonetheless, we could use this to render, right? We know how to render this, don't we? We know how to render this. We just have to use this URL, right? If we copy that URL, and we just paste it here in our browser. We just paste that and we go there, right? There it is. It's an array of objects. Look at that. It's an array of objects. How many objects? There are 10 objects because I asked for 10. Okay? And each one of these has what? Let's see. It has an ID. It has a plot. Look at that. It has a plot. It has a title. Right? It has a year. Right? So ours was a mini version of this. What wasn't it? Right? It's like a mini version of this. But we want to be able to get this data into our jQuery, right? If we could just get this data into our jQuery, we could render this, right? Let's try doing that. Right? I'm going to start a brand new example. I'm going to say copy paste, and I'm going to call it 004. Let's grab the data. Instead of having this hard-coded movies, let's do it as follows. Let's see. I'm gonna create a method. I'm gonna create a function that says function get movies, right? And for title. So I give it a title and it will search for that movie. Okay. All right. So how do we grab that? And for instance, I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna call get movies and I'm gonna give it a title Star Trek. Right. So how do we get data from our server over there into here, right? Well, the way you do that from jQuery is that you can use AJAX. AJAX, right, is a technique that allows JavaScript to make network connections to servers, right? You can say, you give me the URL, right? What's the URL? The URL gives me the location of some server in the internet, right? It gives me the port. The port here is by default 80. And then gives me a path, yes? It gives me a path, and then it gives me a whole bunch of query, right? Some query here, right? AJAX allows me to paste that URL. Just let me paste it in here. I can give it that URL. Oh, that's not it. Copy that. Copy that in there, right? And then what the server is going to do is it says when the server is ready, after a second or two, it's going to notify us with the data. It's going to say, oh, here's the data, right? And it's going to send us back the data. And the way it sends us back is that it's going to call us at a function that we provide in this attribute. We're going to say, when you're ready, send us back the data as a response, right? And we're going to display that in our local console. Right? Response. Okay, let's try it out. And it will blow up. Say 4. There it is. It blew up. But this is a very important blow up, Okay, notice what it's saying. It is saying, I tried going there, okay, but you are trying to have a script that lives at this domain, localhost colon 50770. It lives at this server, right? And you are trying to connect to another domain, right, which is the IMDb domain, right? And that's a no-no. Browsers enforce a security constraint saying that scripts that are downloaded from one domain cannot access data from another domain, right? They're not allowed to do cross-domain scripting. It's called cross-domain scripting. That's a security configuration of most browsers. Some browsers don't pay attention to this and just let it go through, right? But that's okay. There's a hack around this. There's a hack around the security, right? And most servers, not all of them, most services provide support for this hack. They say you can use instead JSON-P. Okay, JSON-P is somewhat of a hack, but it's a standard hack, right? Everybody agrees on this hack, right? Newer servers, you don't need to do this, right? Newer servers just allow this JSON to come in and says, oh, I'm okay. I allow scripts from anywhere to come in and ask for data. It's okay. I don't mind. Okay. Older servers that are not configured yet don't allow cross-domain scripting, right? And stop you. Okay. Newer servers do. Like most Google servers allow you to do this cross-browsing scripting. They don't stop you. So you can just use plain old JSON. But some older servers are still requiring you to use JSON-P. Right. So I'm going to get a new URL. Here it is. The only difference here in the URL is that the format is JSON-P. You see that? Right? I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy the link address, and I'm going to replace my URL. Okay? I replaced it. Okay? And the only other thing to say is to tell jQuery that says, hey, these guys are expecting JSON-P, not the default JSON. They're expecting JSON-P. By default, jQuery uses the JSON format, okay? But because they don't support JSON, we're going to say that instead they're expecting JSON-P. And that's how you say that the data type, the format is not JSON. The format of the data is JSON-P, okay? And the only difference, notice that this is what used to come, right? This is what it used to do, right? The array. You see that array? See that array? If we use a new array, the new URL, and we go to that URL, it's almost the same. It's almost the same, right? The only thing that it adds is this thing that looks like a function call. You see that? That's the only thing that it looks like, right? But what's happening is that the way the hack works is that we're going to fool the browser into thinking that this is a plain text file. Okay? We're going to make believe the browser that this is a plain text file, and the browsers are okay with downloading just plain text files, right? You know, they're okay with downloading, JavaScript files from jQuery, right? And CSS from Bootstrap. Those are plain old text files, right? They're plain text files. The browser's okay with doing that. They don't stop me. So what the hack does is that it fools the browser into thinking, oh, don't worry, this is just a plain text file, right? So the browser says, oh, okay, I'll download the text file. But what really is doing, right? That text file is a very strategic text file, right? Right? It's a file that downloads, right? And it's what? It's a JavaScript function call, right? And it will call a function call that lives in your domain, right? And pass you the data that you were expecting. Okay? Now, you don't need to know that, right? You don't need to know how the hack works underneath. You just need to know that AJAX, that jQuery supports this hack just by telling it that the data type is JSON-P. Okay, that's all you need to know. That's the only usage that you need to know, right? Let's save that. Let's go back to our page it was blowing up. But let's refresh this now. It's waiting, waiting, waiting. There it is. It came back with objects. Look at that. These are objects, right? But where do these objects come from? These are not our objects, right? These are objects that are coming from where? From the server, right? From some cloud service that is out there. And we know how to render that, right? Look at that. We have country, directors, right? Oh, there's no director for the first one? Why not? What's the name? The Adventures of the USS Enterprise. Oh, I guess it's a very old Captain James Kirk. So you have movies here. This is Untitled Star Trek sequel. Ooh. Well, these are movies perhaps that haven't been created yet, right? But they're in the database. We have writers? Yes. Oh, we have writers. Okay, so Doug Jung, and we have Patrick McKay. So anyway, so we have data here. Let's render this data. Let's see. For plot, we know plot. Right, we have plot. So what could we do? Let's see. Let's not call our render movies from here. Okay, let's not call render movies. Let's call render movies from where? From here. How about that? Let's call render movies from here. And let's use pass a response to the movies, right? Let's refresh. Let's refresh. Look at that. The titles are working. Star Trek, Star Trek 3, Star Trek, the motion picture, Star Trek Into Darkness, right? The year is also working. Look at that, 1966. The rating is working, 8.4. I think these are Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, no. These are ratings from IMDb. IMDb uses the rating from 0 to 10 as opposed to 0 to 100. The plot works. Look at that. The Adventures of the USS Enterprise works, right? But this data is now from where? This data is coming from where? From a service, right? Not from a service. We should copy it locally. You know, movies, right? This is a local array. We're going to copy it locally, right? And then use our local cache for movies. What's that going to allow us to do? It's going to allow us to delete things, right? Right. So I'm going to refresh here. Okay. So for instance, I can remove, right? I can remove from the array, right? Certain things that I might want to do is maybe I want to bookmark my movie, right? If I want to bookmark a movie, what would I want to capture from the movie? The only things I might want to capture is perhaps maybe a thumbnail of the image, perhaps maybe the title, maybe the ID, right? Store that in my database, not everything, because I can always go back and retrieve data if I know the ID. If I know the ID, I can always go and retrieve that. Oh, what happened to the ID? Oh, you know what? It's the ID is called something else, isn't it? It's called IMDb ID or something like that. Let's print it. Let's do console.log movies inspect, and the object, the console. What is the ID? No. Oh, no. I want to display the response. There's a response, and what's the ID called? I think it's called IMDb ID or something. ID IMDb. ID IMDb. So let's see. How do we do this? We could go into the render movies, right? And in here, as we're iterating, it's really this, right? Movie.id IMDb, right? ID IMDb. There it is. So that the T, right? The ID is weird. Some TT0060 something or other, right? That ID. So that ID could be used to retrieve the movie later, right? Actually, if you want to retrieve a single movie, if you go to here, you'll notice that it has a URL that you can say, you can use this URL, right? You can use this URL, right? And then you can pass it. You can pass it as an argument. Let's see. You can pass as an argument the IMDb, right? You can pass it the IMDb as an argument, question mark IMDb equal, and then we can copy one of these IDs. For instance, this one. How about that? Let's copy that and let's paste it here. If we do that, it comes back with an object. You see that? It comes back with an object, right? With all the details, right? So I don't need to store all the details in my database, right? If I want to bookmark a movie that I like, yes? The only thing I need to bookmark is really the ID in my database, yes? Everything else, to display details, I can always go and fetch the details later on, right? Although in my local database, I might want to store, a couple of things. I might want to store the ID. I might want to store the title. Maybe I want to store a poster image, yes? So that maybe in my API, in my database, in my website, I might list all my favorite movies, right? With a little icon, right? With my title, right? And that's it. But that's all I store. If I click on that movie, I would navigate to another page and show the details, right? And there is where I use the ID to fetch the rest of the details, right? And render a brand new page with all the details. Make sense? Right? So the only thing I would store in the database, again, it's the ID, right? And a couple other things, so I don't have to fetch the the poster and the title all the time, right? I can cache that in the database. That makes sense, right? All right. So we looked at enough. I think we looked at enough here to be able to get started in the assignment, in the jQuery assignment, and also we've looked at the beginnings of accessing data through a web API. The next, what we're going to look at on Tuesday is doing the same thing we did here, but with Angular. Right? We're gonna change pace, and we're gonna replicate what we did, but with Angular. Okay. All right. Remember, I'm going to be here between 4:30 and 6:30 if you want to come and chat. Room 310A.